Good morning, comrade. You listen to WHIV LP New Orleans 102.3. This is your weekly Good Morning Comrade, Jeff and Robert, here on the show with you today. Robert, what is happening, my dude? How you doing today?
Great. It's a great day to be an American. USA.
Every day is a great day to be an American, right?
Well, today's special day because we
as of recording, it's a great day to be a New Orleanian too, because it's the 19th anniversary of the Hurricane Katrina.
Oh, I don't even like to talk about that since I'm not a native New Orleanian. I don't. Yeah, I know there's people with actual PTSD, but I was gonna say today is the opening day of the Paralympics, and I watched wheelchair rugby at work. We, the USA, we beat our rivals today. It was like 51-48. Our rivals are Canada. For all you out there who haven't watched the excellent documentary, it's probably like 20 years old now, called Murder Ball, and it's about wheelchair rugby, and it's amazing. And we also have the first woman to play at the Olympic level on our team, Sarah Adams. Big shout out to her. She is out there making tries and banging. There was one guy, he ate it so hard. Like, he got hit so hard it like destroyed his chair. And you have to understand, like, if you haven't seen wheelchair rugby, like, just go Google it. These chairs are like forged in like the fires of Hephaestus. Like, they are just like Mad Max, like Doom machines.
They look like scary.
Like, yeah, they are. They're crazy. Like, the welds on them they're just heavy duty because they're literally just crashing and trying to kill each other. But this guy ate it so hard, like his chair like fell apart. Like, they almost, like, the equipment guys they're like NASCAR pit crew. Oh, yeah. Like, they run out and they're like changing wheels and doing all this stuff. It's crazy. It's just like part of the game. Like, your chair's gonna get jacked up. You're gonna trade paint with other people, and it's just like it's just awesome. I love the Paralympics so much.
Like a demolition derby out there.
Yeah.
So question, cool. I've never actually watched obviously I should, but like, are they bringing one another to the ground? Like, is that part of it, like in regular rugby, or like?
So this is how it works. So think about it like this. So it's definitely a contact sport.
Yeah, totally.
But it's
very obviously it's rugby.
Obviously, like, trying to tackle somebody, like, that's,
you can't wrap somebody up in a wheelchair.
You can't wrap somebody up in a wheelchair. So it's almost it's a combination of basketball, because you can do forward passes. It's like American football and basketball.
Okay, so it's like kind of a different sport.
More than rugby. Yeah.
So it's a little bit of a different sport than like traditional rugby.
Yeah, because you can do a forward pass because, again, you're in a wheelchair. How, for people who aren't watching, like, I'm making a motion to pass behind me. That's just not going to work. Yeah, it's not going to work. So you can do a forward pass, and then also you're on a clock. It's a shot clock like basketball. So you have 30 seconds or whatever. And if you can't get a try, you can't move the ball into the try zone within that shot clock, then possession changes.
Okay.
That's how it works. Oh, obviously, like, you can intercept the ball. Yeah. You can try to strip it. You can knock it out of somebody's hand, because you'll see guys moving. It's just like a play in the NFL. A guy will come, he'll wheel up to another guy and like try to strip the ball from the side. It really doesn't work from the front, obviously. Yeah. But from the side, yeah.
And
definitely
like, again,
does.
like I don't mean to be like a just like curious Andy. I mean, obviously, you just go watch the sport,
rules.
but like I imagine that there's some pretty huge collisions just because you can get some real momentum going on those chairs. And these dudes that I mean, I've seen photos and videos of these players, like of what they look like. They are massive. Like,
you're talking, yeah, absolutely. You're talking Bo Jackson on Brian Bosworth type collisions.
They can, smack. Just like absolute, like that. Like that is. I mean, look, I ain't got that in me. I don't want to be.
I said
part,
before.
I don't that.
Well, I was saying it. I watched the opening ceremony, and I said it last. I said it last night. I was watching the opening ceremony with my wife, and I was like, you know what, like, I'm glad. So you could tell that the budget wasn't the same. Obviously, there wasn't Celine Dion. There wasn't like, Lady Gaga wasn't there and stuff like that. And the budget,
according to the IOC, this is the minor leagues,
was completely different. I mean, but that's okay in a way because one, it felt like I wasn't being sold something every 5 seconds. To where again, I know we talked about the Olympics on a previous episode. I told my wife I felt like the Olympics, 2 weeks ago, opening ceremony was probably the best opening ceremony we're going to get under capitalism, because it felt like the guy who did the creative direction on this, because people have done think pieces about him. It felt like almost it was made under duress, and like art under duress is like can be really good, because it was made like, I really hate that the Olympics are here, and I really hate that like people have all these cliches about France, so we're just going to play them up. And I felt like it was really artistically beautiful, to where like the Paralympics didn't have the budget. Obviously, they did what they could, but I felt like the commentators let it breathe a lot more. Again, they weren't cutting back to LeBron James every 5 seconds.
Yeah, you don't have Peyton Manning saying like goofy stuff like every 5 seconds to get himself over.
They did like, the commentators did like when Israel came out. I don't know how I felt about it, because like, I'm like, oh, Paralympians. And then like they were getting audibly booed.
Hey,
but I'm like, hey, it's no different than anything else. I'm like, if we're gonna like that's kind of why we're doing this, because
Israel is still doing a genocide. So
that's kind of why we're doing this. It's like for equality. It's not like they're there. Crappy people can be, not that they're individually bad people. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
But it's like, just because you're differently
you
able,
represent the government. You represent Israel right now. Israel's doing some messed up stuff right now, so you're gonna.
But the commentators that they had was like, one was like a TV guy, an obvious TV guy, and then another was a Paralympian, and he was really cool, because I don't know his name, but he just like let the broadcast breathe. I felt like they didn't talk over stuff that when they were trying to do art, he really just kind of slid in when like maybe nothing was going on with some kind of insight. And then also, the reason why I talked about Israel, it really shocked me. I feel like you can only kind of get this out of the quote unquote B team when like the suits are away and nobody's watching. That they said a thing when the Israeli team came out, and they said, oh, there was a guy who was, he was on October 7th and blah, 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 blah. Just like you would expect corporate media to. But then, 20 minutes later, when the lone Palestinian Paralympian came out, the commentators really said some impactful stuff about Palestine. And I was just like, I don't think we could have got that out of Peyton Manning.
No.
And
whoever else.
What's her name? I don't know who's ever on The Voice or whatever. But I'm like, yeah, this feels like something you can only get. It felt like one of those good Disney Star Wars movies that are made that are not the mainline movies. Yeah. And they're only made when people go, yeah, just green light, whatever, just do it. We're not concerned. And that's how the Paralympics opening ceremony felt, and it was really cool. And I invite anybody to, I think it's on cable if you have cable. Peacock. I think it's on like it's on Peacock. I invite anybody, watch that. I think
watch it however you can watch it.
I watch it. Yeah, tomorrow I think I'm gonna watch some swimming at work. Still wish I could bet on it, but hey, we can't win them all. But yeah, we were joking. Like I was joking with my wife. I was like, you know what? Like this is more impressive to me. Obviously, honestly, it's not like a there. Like in that special, in that knee. Oh, they're doing their. No, it's like this is seriously impressive because okay, could I complete the Olympic marathon? Could I run 23 miles? No. Could I walk it in 8 hours? Yeah, sure. 10. Yeah, I could do that. But like, take one of my legs and put that metal thing on there and see if I can do it. I don't think so, bro.
Circle back to a couple of things. One, another thing about like I kind of like from a broadcasting perspective, and this is like total nerd stuff, but like these B teams that are coming in to like cover the Paralympics and like all these sports that aren't like mainstream events. They're like the hungry teams that are coming up to try. They're either like the hungry team that's like trying to come up and like do a really great job and like get a career in broadcast, or they're the kind of old timers who have got like a ton of experience that know what they're doing. You can actually get some pretty like interesting, decent like if you care about those kinds of things, sports coverage on it. I also like on that note, do you remember from like 4 years ago? It is the 4-year anniversary of the time that Thom Brennaman was or is.
Oh, brother, I'm from Cincinnati.
Yeah, when he
yeah, I know him and his dad.
Well,
I sold his dad a TV like back when I worked.
4-year anniversary of the Thom Brennaman apology for saying a homophobic slur. He called I think
San Francisco.
No, it was St. Louis. He called St. Louis like the like F slur city or something like that. And then he's like does this 5-10 minute like apology on the air where he's like, oh no, I'm really sorry, I really embarrassed myself. Like this guy is like
somebody just like blast the home run.
It was Castellanos. It's a home run, and it's just like, there's a deep drive to left field by Castellanos. It's a home run right in the middle of his apology. It was so awesome.
Oh my god! Somebody hired him. Somebody hired him back.
I mean, I don't think he's gonna do it again.
He's the legend, dude. Cincinnati is such a legendary place.
Here's the apology. Here, listen up.
It's like I don't even think I'm gonna be here.
Oh,
I see security coming. Security's coming to get my headphones. I think I better get on Indeed.com. And get this resume going. It's pretty bad, dog.
Made a comment earlier tonight that I guess went out over the air that I am deeply ashamed of.
I love apologies. First off, I love apologies. Like Harry Shearer on his show, he'll just have an entire segment of apologies, just like people just doing damage control. I love apologies. They're so
I love how your dad is literally in the Major League Baseball Hall of Fame for being a broadcaster, and you've taken up the same career path and you're on that same trajectory at this point, and how we are just we're sitting here as just idiot hobby podcasters and radio show hosts, but how do you not like if there's a microphone, it's hot. Mm-hmm. Like how is that not like ingrained in your DNA at this point? Mm-hmm. Like why? Like I could understand. I'm not even moralizing what he said. I'm just how can you
rookie mistake, bro? Rookie mistake.
You're wearing a microphone. Like, you think, like if I want to say something homophobic, I'm going to take it off. And then that's crazy. I don't know. But every now and then, I guess it would be like the same in sports. Like every decade, there's always, there's always like a shortstop who gets like a single and he wants to like adjust his jockstrap and he like pulls his pants down and like adjust, and he's just like, and people, it'll be like 10,000 people in the stadium just going, whoa. And he's like, oh, I forgot where I was. I guess it was like that. I don't know.
Here he goes.
I have hurt anyone out there. I can't tell you how much I say from the bottom of my heart. I'm so very, very sorry. I pride myself and think of myself as a man of faith. As there's a drive in a deep left field by Castellanos, it will be a home run.
And so we're so terrible that year.
I don't know if I'm going to be putting on this headset again.
No.
He's calling the baseball game. He's in the middle of calling the baseball game, and Castellanos just goes like deep to left field and hits a home run. He's just like, yeah, there's Castellanos hitting a home run. I don't know if I'm ever going to call another sports event ever in my entire life, by the way.
I don't know if it's going to be for the Reds. I don't know if it's going to be for my bosses at Fox. I'm going to apologize for the people who signed my paycheck for the Reds, for Fox Sports Ohio, for the people I work with, for anybody that I've offended here tonight. I can't begin to tell you how deeply sorry I am. That is not who I am, and never has been. And I'd like to think maybe I could have some people that could back that up. I am very, very sorry, and I beg for your forgiveness. Jim Day will take you the rest of the
All right.
Brother, Cincinnati sports is like so cursed. I've never seen another cursed, like more cursed sports town. And I don't mean like win-loss record. Like, okay, the Bengals haven't won a Super Bowl. They've lost 2 Super Bowls now. They lost one in a harbor. I'm not even talking about like if it's something like dumb and kind of like
weird
and like doesn't really affect the operations of the team.
Yeah,
Cincinnati sports teams do.
I mean, y'all have Marge Schott history.
Marge Schott,
forever. I mean, like
Rob Dibble.
Who was
Marge Schott? Was Marge? I mean, like, there's something about the Reds that's just like inherently just. It's like the ghost of Marge Schott just brought. That's what he should have said. So Marge Schott is the owner of the Cincinnati Reds back in like the 80s and the 90s, and she was like super racist. She just let her like. She was famous for having these saints. Her husband owned a Ford dealership. I don't know what brand of car, but it's the same kind
of like rich people when you can like get
same kind of foolishness we have down here in Louisiana with the Saints. Mm-hmm. But so Marge ended up, her husband died or whatever, and then she ended up owning the Reds, and she's just super racist and always saying racist stuff.
Legendary.
Hanging around the clubhouse, like why nobody wants you there. She's famous for having these Saint Bernards that she would just let run around Riverfront Stadium. It was crazy, dude. And then like also, like again, the Reds are. I mean, that's what Marty Brennaman should have said. He should have said, "Is the ghost? I was possessed by the ghost of Marge Schott," and that's why that was said. That's exactly why. I mean. Between like Bengals, there was those couple seasons where like Bengals players like couldn't stay out of Hamilton County Jail. There was I've personally been in a bar and saw Pac-Man Jones, the old Bengals cornerback, try to fight 4 cops. What else? The craziest stuff ever. We had what else is awful in Cincinnati? So much foolishness. We got the Reds, the Bengals. Like I said, the Bengals were super, super bad for a long time. The Reds ownership told the fans, they said, you know, if you're not happy with the product, we can just move. They get them the old, you know, Democratic Party output of like who you're going to vote for. It's just the most snake bit, but not snake bit sports town of all time. I'm wearing a Cincinnati right now. I'm wearing a Cincinnati Bearcats. We got Bob Huggins was the coach of the Cincinnati Bearcats basketball team. It used to be a perennial powerhouse. Used to be like always going deep in the tournament. You know, sometimes like, oh, we're going to be in the Final Four. They can win it all. Never could. But the coach Bob Huggins was steadily getting. He was racking up DUIs. Like his players are racking up triple doubles. It's just such a weird sports town. It's really weird being from there and living in a place that I don't want to say it's not relevant. I everything I've said about Cincinnati, I love it, but it's weird living in a place that used to be the kind of the center of America, because of the Ohio River. If you watch old Westerns and cowboy movies, they always talk about, oh, he's from the big city. He's from Cincinnati this, Cincinnati that. And because, you know, rivers aren't relevant in the way that they once were of us moving, you know, goods and goods back and forth across the country, you're kind of living in an industrial city whose I don't know how to say this without sounding like super defeatist, but like a doomer, but its best days are behind it. Not that Cincinnati's a great place. I would go live there right now. Great place, but it's like, it feels like it's just not. It used to, at one time it was the LA, the New York of America, and now it's just the Cincinnati of America, which is kind of a weird mindset to have when you're just kind of this middle of the road city. In Cincinnati, I'm just going to keep going on Cincinnati, was because Jeff took a break. He had to go do something. No idea, but it's all right. Cincinnati, to keep it back to politics, Hulk Hogan has been making his rounds into Cincinnati. He has been campaigning for Donald Trump in Cincinnati, which is really weird, really gross. I don't know why he's hitting Ohio so hard, because I don't see Ohio is a deeply red state. Point. Yeah, Ohio's a deeply red state. I don't know why he's deploying his secret weapon of Terry Bollea, Hulk Hogan, to Ohio at this point.
Did you see, by the way, do you know who Chris Van Vliet is? Like one of these, like,
I do.
He's a wrestling guy. This week he had Jesse Ventura on his little podcast, YouTube show, whatever it is, and of course, and I just, any chance I get to bring this up, I always do. I mean, he asked the question about Hogan snitching, and Jesse tells the story just like he always does. He said that Hogan was the guy that dropped the dime to Vince McMahon.
Oh, he's the absolute worst.
And Vince McMahon told him in, a sworn deposition, hesitating not at all. Dude, I love Jesse Ventura. I'm sorry. I know he's like kind of a libertarian or whatever. Like his politics are not exactly mine or anything like that. But like Jesse Ventura is kind of like one of those people that take away like a lot of like conservative arguments when they talk about, like, I mean, I wouldn't even call him a liberal. He's kind of a libertarian, I guess. But like he basically, when people are going to make like arguments about like, oh, you like only like wimps or whatever support Harris or whatever, like Jesse Ventura like has this, probably partially like fake or, there's I don't want to call him a liar or anything like that, but like he's got this history of being with the SEALs, and he's got a real sniper and like all these other sorts of things, and like that's one of the things that you talk about as well in your capacity as a Marine. And like and y'all aren't like unicorns. There's a lot of people out there that have the same experiences that you do. They're just not as, they're not as loud about it. You know what I mean?
So that's what I was going to say about Jesse Ventura. He is interesting because, I can understand. So I think that people who get out of the military come out in two different ways. Like there's the one, like people who didn't really think much about their service at all. They probably just weren't, I don't know how to say, so I'm being a jerk. They probably weren't much thinkers going in. Other people who kind of,
just normal people,
just normal, whatever. Just normal people. Other people who kind of go in there. I would conclude myself in this kind of just like warrior poets. Like they think, like we do a lot of reading. We read a lot about history. We got two brain cells to rub together, and we can see that every time. When you're telling me like, oh, government can't do and government can't work and this and that, and Jesse Ventura's looking at it the same way, like you said, I look at it as they can send me across anywhere on the planet to go murder someone.
Yeah.
What we can do. So if we can do that, everything's open. Like there's nothing we can't do. I always say that we put men on the moon. You're saying we can't get, you're telling me we can't get healthcare. We put men on the moon in the 70s. We can't figure out healthcare. We can't figure out education. What are we talking about here? Like we're regressing. So, and I do have sympathy for people who, especially libertarians, who are just like, yeah, libertarianism is the normal conclusion to somebody that's been told all their life and shown that Government cannot help them. Government will not help them. It can only hurt them. It can only get in the way. So, of course, that's naturally what you're going to turn to, is this like laissez-faire capitalist approach, because you haven't been shown that government can fulfill its promises. It can do its mandate, which is in the Constitution of providing for the promoting the general welfare of its people.
It's a logical sort of like conclusion to come to. Libertarianism is, and I'm not talking about like the conspiracy theorists and the weirdos, and you should be able to like sell your children types of libertarians either. There's like more normal libertarians than that, I think. But like the when you think about the sort of idea of capitalist realism and the idea that like the end of the world is more thinkable than the end of capitalism, then you just sort of be like, well, just get me off the grid, put me in my hole, whatever, I don't care. Like that's the logical sort of like the best possible thing you can expect from the world and from government or whatever, you know what I mean? Which is not, I mean, again, I would push back against that idea and say that's absolutely not true. Like collectively, people can and have historically done things together. Even in the United States, I mean, the going to the moon and all these other things, are not like one individual genius making up this project, no matter what Elon Musk might want you to think. But like, these are collective efforts by states, but as far as like that's again, and if there can ever be common ground on these kinds of issues, like that's where it's at.
Yeah, I mean, it's accurate.
Or at least a sense of understanding, you know what I mean?
Right. It's just the idea of just what we said last week. It's like you talk to normal people, and I don't mean this is, but they're just like, well, it's weird. Like they only, what did we say last week? These politicians only want to do stuff to get your vote. Yeah. That's how it's supposed to work. This is a exchange of services for votes. Like that's, and honestly, a reinvestment of my return investment on my tax dollars. But we have a society that's just so checked out. They just look at government as just like the big boogeyman.
Yeah. I mean, look at what it does.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, you have cops descending on protests, blowing them up at the PNC, for example, or at college campuses right now as kids go back to school. Or you have the government bombing, going into the freaking West Bank now, not even continuing genocide in Gaza, but like essentially funding aggression by the Israeli government into parts of Palestine where Hamas, the supposed big bad, doesn't even exist.
Yeah.
You have this whole, and our government, the one that we pay taxes to, is giving hundreds of billions of dollars to Israel to do that, and they can't get, in New Orleans, the infrastructure is so fragile that a couple of balloons can take out a power outage, create a power outage that makes the entire city have to like boil water because it takes out our sewage and water board facilities.
I mean, the beginning of this chapter of the Palestinian genocide, that tweet that went viral. I don't know who it's from, but it was unironic. He tweeted, Palestinians are about to find out. Oh no, it was the Houthi rebels that captured the ship. They say, oh, these Houthis are about to find out why America doesn't have healthcare.
Yeah.
And it's like, that was an unironic flex. Like, that's how brain broken we are. Like, that's some kind of a good thing that like, no, we like all of our money that the government siphons from us goes to death, murder, and destruction, and to the military industrial complex, and none of it comes back to me.
Yeah,
it's like that's not sustainable. And two, that's against the charter, the rules of the club. But we don't really care much about that.
Never did.
No, never did.
You listen to WHIV LP New Orleans 102.3. This is Good Morning Comrade, goodmorningcomrade.com. And yeah, I don't know if you had been paying attention to the aggression that Israel started showing in the past couple of days, but they have essentially started moving in and bombing the West Bank. They've been bombing parts of Lebanon. They've been just expanding this, genocide beyond, they're thinking outside the box. They're thinking outside. You know what if we just don't bomb Gaza? What if we just kill all the Palestinians? Very, very, very creative thinking, very thoughtful, very, very, smart of these, psychopaths that are, doing, I guess, genocide in multiple theaters now. Wow. They're really getting the numbers up. They're getting their money up and not their funny up.
No, that's always been the plan. I mean, anybody at this point can say otherwise is
who's actually surprised that Israel would do that, right?
I know. And that's kind of the point, right? Like, even I'm getting super fatigued talking about this every week. Mm-hmm. I'm getting super fatigued watching it. It's just like, good Lord, like, somebody come make it stop. But who's not fatigued, and thank God, and I'm here to support them in any way possible, the college kids with, like, schools back in session, and they are starting up the encampments again, and they are starting with the protests again all across the country. And thank God, man, because we've talked about this earlier. We could just feel the momentum, like, slipping away. Mm-hmm. And thank God that we have these kids to focus the attention back on a genocide that we are paying for, that could not exist without our your and I tax dollars. Like, it could not exist. We are doing the thing, and it's gross. You've got, have you seen, are you into the Trump Arlington Cemetery fiasco?
Where he gave the thumbs up in front of the soldier's grave with the family.
one, he shouldn't be doing that. Like, one, it's
like
the
a TikTok. Photo op. I mean, it's very funny from the perspective of, like, he's just a buffoon and an idiot, but it is kind of messed up, The
TikTok he made is gross. Mm-hmm. For one. Two, if you're not familiar, it's Trump went to Arlington Cemetery and cut an ad for TikTok about how he's the peace president, and nobody died under his watch like they did under Biden and Vice President Harris. And he shot this,
trying to make a lot of hay about the, like, ending of the war, like pulling out of Afghanistan, and what a disaster that was, which, like, one, Trump agreed to, and two, like, hey, you know what? If ending, like, a 20-year war in Afghanistan is part of Biden's legacy, then, I mean, that's a credit, for against all the other black marks that are there. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I mean, but here's the thing: that one, it's gross to do that.
Yeah.
Two, his team, I don't know if they knew or didn't know, it's actually legal to do that.
It's illegal to take photographs or cut ads.
No, not to cut ads. Like, you can be the president and go to Arlington and take pictures. What you cannot do is cut a political ad.
Yeah.
Three, the poor person who tried to stop them from doing that was assaulted by Trump staff.
Oh,
and, like, police reports have been filed. And so, on top of all that, four, the Democratic Party, because of its complicity, complicity is the wrong word, because of its active, being an active accessory in genocide, gives Trump the space, even though he's lying. He's lying. The reason why October 7th happened is directly because of Donald Trump and the Abraham Accords. Mm-hmm. He's lying, but it doesn't matter.
Moving the embassy to Jerusalem.
Yeah, that's the Abraham Accords. Yeah. But it doesn't matter that he's lying. What matters is, because of the genocide assist that we're giving Israel, it's giving him space to tell this lie. Yeah. We could just make it stop. We could just make it stop right now.
Which he has no interest in doing.
Apparently.
I mean, like, Netanyahu and all of his cronies want Trump to win. Like, like, what's going on? Like, there's almost like no. I mean, again, this is one of those sorts of things that get you, like, that. I mean, again, I think that it's, it's one of those sorts of things that get people completely black-pilled about our political system, because what the Democrats are providing is, even the, quote unquote liberal party, the lefter of the two parties that exist, are like they're also supporting the genocide. They're also instrumental in the genocide. Without them, there is no genocide. They obviously could stop it. We choose not to. And I mean, again, the Harris campaign, we were talking last week about the DNC and everything like that. And Kamala Harris's speech, she literally talked about the support for Israel. They had a bunch of Israeli families of people who were hostages who were taken by Hamas. Sure, fine, whatever. But they wouldn't let a single Palestinian speak. They wouldn't let the representative from Georgia, who was a Muslim woman, who was Palestinian herself, who wasn't even making a statement critical of the Harris campaign necessarily. They wouldn't let her speak, and there was multiple protests outside. We're going to talk about this with Mel Buer next week. Actually, she was out there covering this with the Real News. But there was no give from the Democratic Party and from the Harris campaign at the DNC to even give voice to this, to even give a person. I mean, obviously, the end of the demand is not like, oh, we want one person speaking at this DNC or whatever. The idea, the demand is a genocide. But the fact that the Democratic Party would completely and entirely shut out that perspective it's pretty bad. And that's what blackpills people from the political system in this country.
I mean, kind of the only, I'm super defeated in all this, but the dark hopium that I'm huffing on is that the polls have tightened. Mm-hmm. There's been 75% increase in Black women registering to vote nationwide, but the polls have tightened and they're still in the margin of error in favor of Trump. Mm-hmm. I'm hoping it doesn't get any better for Harris. I'm hoping this is kind of her soft ceiling, and then they're going to have to pull out. They're going to have to be like, look, if we do a 180 on Gaza and break away from Biden on this, even let Biden have this for his legacy or whatever. Be like, look, we got to stop the genocide. They won't use those words. We got to have a ceasefire. Let Biden have it for his legacy, and then that will guarantee us the White House. I'm hoping that's how it is, because last week we talked about it seems like it's the Harris Walz campaign's a runaway train, and I'm, as much as I don't want Trump to win, mm-hmm. I don't want her to feel so comfortable where she doesn't have to make any material concessions to benefit American citizens, which, as I say those words coming out of my mouth, sounds like the most insane thing possible. It's like, wow, I really hope that the person running for office, for any office, has to do something beneficial for somebody. Yeah. But that's where we're at. That's where we've been, honestly, my whole life. I don't know how it was. Mm-hmm. People were voting for, I don't know, who was for before Ronald Reagan, voting for Carter, I guess. Yeah. I don't know.
Ford, Nixon.
Yeah, it's like, wow, I really hope that one of these guys does one thing beneficial mm-hmm. for an actual person and not a corporation. And it's like what a dystopian. The bar is literally in hell. The bar is in hell. What yeah, just what a dystopian way of thought. But it's like, I don't see any other way. Like this thing is, it's almost like it's like Israel knows that they can't advance anymore in Gaza. Mm-hmm. Hamas is dug in. They're actually not even, it's not even like they're dug in, like it's a stalemate. They're actively losing. Like whenever they have to go, if they're not doing bombing sorties, if they're not dropping death from above and they have to actually go in on the ground.
Yeah. That's the palm trees are speaking Arabic, like you said before.
Yeah, that it's not good for them. So they're like, okay, where else can we like spark off a war so we can try to draw the US in and have them have a new Afghanistan, and then we can leech off of them for the next 20 years. Where can we do that? Is it Iran? Is it Lebanon? Or where's it going to be? And that they're trying to figure out what the least amount of blowback that they can take that's going to draw us in. And it's super gross. Like, I've even heard like, because from Talking Heads I listen to, I don't know, you take this, whatever, this and 50 cents won't get you a can of soda anymore. But the idea that that's going to be the October surprise is because Netanyahu wants Trump to win, and he knows that will secure his position, that he'll wait until October to have an all-out assault on one of these countries that will have to have a retaliation and draw us in to a war, and that's how Trump will win.
And again, this only happens. This is only possible because the United States is already giving billions of dollars to Israel to sustain this attack. They just, like, I think I saw a headline the other day. We just sent our 500th aircraft to the Israel since last October, and it's like, yay, hooray, congratulations! What a wonderful landmark that we just passed right there, isn't it? We've sent 500 aircraft the United States has to Israel. We did it. It's just like, without that, without the arms and without the ammo and without the things that we are providing to even make this genocide possible, those are the same exact weapons that Israel will use to if the goal is to do that, to get in a war with Iran. They're gonna be doing with our stuff, with our money, with our weapons, and they're going to draw us into a war with it. It is absolutely ridiculous that this is the case, and it's coming.
I just really don't want to live through World War III. I really don't want to see people get genocided. And it
is potentially World War III. I mean, like China and Russia and all of them. I mean, that's not like there's a tight alliance like prior to the First World War or whatever that's holding it all together. But like, if there is going to be the United States just going being a part of a conquering wars in these major areas, and there's actually troops on the ground, that's the kind of stuff that gets that happening.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to be alarmist. I'm not trying to be like a weirdo about it all, but like that's just how these things happen.
No, that's 100% correct, and it's just like, I worry about what I do worry about is that it won't even be like if not a regional. Let's say it's a regional conflict. We're not even talking about World War III. It's a regional conflict, and the U.S. gets drawn in. What I'm super scared about is it won't even be like a Vietnam or an Afghanistan or even an Iraq, because we've advanced our technology that it's going to take there's going to be such a minimization of American casualties, and so few boots are going to be needed because we'll just Hellfire missile drone strike everyone to death, that our lives here in the Imperial Core won't be affected, and so there won't be a pushback to it.
If Americans don't die, nobody cares.
Yeah, that's you get me. That's what I'm saying. Because Vietnam, it was like literal, like, I don't want the Vietnam War to happen. I need it to stop because my numbers is probably going to be up soon, and I don't even either go to that green hell or run to Canada. So like, yeah, I'm out here in the street, like, we're shutting it down. We're doing weatherman stuff. Like, but if it's just drone strikes and you don't see it on TV because there's not 3 channels anymore, there's 330, and you can just flip the channel, on who got drone strike today and watch Rick and Morty repeats. I don't see a pushback to this.
Yeah. Well,
that's why I'm so glad that the students are pushing back on it now. like they are. I'm so scared that, there won't be, because there's just too much distraction, too much going on.
Yeah.
You know?
Listen to WHAVLP New Orleans 102.3 is good, my comrade. I would also caution about the quote unquote weatherman stuff that you mentioned. Like, that kind of didn't work then, and it's not going to work now either. You know what I mean?
No, I mean, you're right, but at the end of the day, they didn't blow anything up.
Yeah.
That's why I picked them out. Like, that's what, one, I picked them out. And then two, I don't have a lot of sympathy. Yeah, when you say it's not going to work, like, you mean tactically, like, yeah. I'm not going to moralize. I'm not going to moralize people.
I'm not moralizing
didn't do a thing while like the Move building bombing happened, so, and they didn't even blow anything up. But yeah, no, I mean, it's not going to work. But
I'm talking strategy.
The kids were doing something. They weren't just, they weren't just watching whatever's on TV that night, or whatever's on TikTok, or whatever's on.
One of the things I do really worry about, and like maybe this is like a bit of a spicy take, like there was a very specific direction that the American left took, probably like post 1968. That was like decidedly, yeah. I mean, again, it was a lot of it was. I'm not going to moralize about it, other than like talk about the morality of efficacy. Like, there is a morality towards being as effective as possible. One of the things that I constantly am seeing is people making people who are part of organizations making decisions that are not well. All right. The way I view them is that they view that some of the leaders in these groups are making decisions that are morally correct in terms of like stopping and pushing against the genocide in every single way. However, they're executed in extremely ineffective ways. So, for example, every time you see AOC say something ridiculous and stupid on the DNC stage, like essentially saying that the Biden administration is pushing for never sleeplessly trying to get the genocide or ceasefire stopped or whatever, or a ceasefire initiated. Like, we all know that's not true. What does it do positively to like go after her in that sense to essentially like push things forward? You just gotta, I don't know, you just gotta kind of ignore that stuff, I think, because there's there is this
who's gotta ignore it, Jeff? Like, that's a question, because I ignore it myself, but like I don't
like people online, people in social organizations, people in like DSA, like there's always this sense that I see people talking about, loudmouths on the internet or whatever, and people are parts of these organizations who are like, well, this is finally the thing that we have to hang our hat on to say, like, this is why we have to break from AOC now, and it's just like, I don't know, man. If she didn't say that stuff, I mean, it wouldn't make any difference. I don't know.
But I mean, I think what you're getting at, these people expect, they expect change from the top down, and AOC is the top. And so that was never in the cards. It's never going to happen.
And there's pushes there's caucuses within DSA that have like made the case to unendorse AOC and stuff like that, when I don't know, like that it doesn't make a lot of sense to me from a strategic perspective. And like it's almost as though you have to like self-purify. Like, these people want to self-purify to I don't know what the point of it is. I don't know why, but it's like this sort of like weird Protestant impulse to distance from political figures that don't completely and entirely like hold the exact same line that you want your organization to have. And it's
I have an answer to that. I mean, we're coming up on it. We got about 10 minutes left, but I have an answer to that. It's because I feel the same way. They don't have any leverage, so they're trying to grasp at leverage. So that's the whole problem. That's the problem with our political. You're putting your hand on the pulse of what's wrong with our political system.
Yeah,
is that how do you hold a representative accountable when you don't have leverage? The only people who have leverage are lobbyists and the people who are going to fund their campaigns to keep them employed. So all I have, I've said this a million times, all I have is a vote. It's all I have. So if I'm ready to give that to you because you're the least worst option, then I've already given away any leverage I have.
Well, but I guess the point is that like somebody like AOC specifically, or I mean, it's or Ilhan Omar or Cori Bush or Jamal Bowman, like they definitely have been like not when they're not speaking at the DMC, and I'm thinking of AOC specifically, like she is definitely talking like a much bigger game about ceasefire and about like the aggression that Israel is doing. However, like, you know, it just seems to be that there are these gotchas that leftists want to sort of like roll out there and be like, there it is, boom. That's why we have to distance ourselves from AOC. It's almost like it's a foregone conclusion that they want to do that, and like looking for a reason is like is kind of like what's going on there. You see what I'm saying?
I do, but I would say so. I would to be devil's advocate and to play both sides of the fence. I would say you have to, when you listen to a politician and they do their stump speech and they're trying to, before you cast a vote, give them $1 or knock a door, you have to have a very sobering look at that person's policies, and you cannot make up headcanon. You cannot imprint the things that you want done onto them, and then get mad when they're like, well, why aren't they the politician that I envisioned in my mind?
Mm-hmm.
And they were never that.
Yeah.
So just go in sober and you won't be disappointed.
Yeah.
They're
always going to disappoint.
I personally am not disappointed by AOC. She hasn't done anything against how she ran.
Mm-hmm.
She didn't say, I'm going to do this. So there's no hypocrisy there. It's just that us as leftists have put this whole set of ideals onto her.
Yep.
Which she never put that out there. Should she have on a personal level? Yes, but we have to play on the field of reality.
Yeah.
You're making things up. That's why to bring it back to this horse race, everybody's like, not everybody. I've seen some grumble about like, when is Kamala Harris going to do an interview? She hasn't done any interviews with press, and that's like a right-wing sticking point. Mm-hmm. And Quentin Tarantino said it. He said it perfect. He's like, she's got the momentum. She's up in the polls. I hope she doesn't do any interviews. Mm-hmm. And it was like, does that sound like a cultist? Yeah, but does that sound like somebody like a cultist? Like, I'm going to vote for them no matter what. Sure, it does. But when you look at it tactically, why should she tip her cards? And I'm not saying this isn't morally. This is just tactics. Why tip your cards when it's not showdown time? Why let somebody know what your whole card is in this poker game? Because if I don't do interviews and if I don't talk about issues, people can project whatever they want to on me. It's the same thing as Trump saying I'm the peace candidate when he obviously isn't. People who are just like, I want all Palestinians dead, and I hope that I know Israel's got nukes, but they can use ours and just nuke Gaza. And Donald Trump's the man that's going to do that. And somebody else is like Donald Trump and Tulsi Gabbard, the ultimate peace candidates. And that's why they're so peaceful. And because I'm putting that onto them. They never said any of that. They never said one way or the other. So you just have to be very sober and very realistic and read the fine print out of what you're getting from a politician. Now, if you look at a guy like a Fetterman on Israel, I'm not surprised about it at all. He was always bad. Fetterman on everything else, a complete liar. Yes. Yeah. Now you were lied to. Now you can say you were lied to.
Yeah. I mean, it's I mean, I think it's almost like a night and day difference between a AOC situation and a Fetterman situation, despite the fact that it feels like, and maybe I'm over.
I was trying to contrast with somebody who is an actual liar.
No. But like what I'm trying to say is that like sometimes it feels like people are trying to make it so that those two things are kind of the same, and it's not. I mean, like it's definitely not. I mean, Fetterman is like obviously like a genocidal warmonger freak, and like AOC is like trying, and I think doing a very bad job tactically of like trying to push she's trying to do two different things at the same time and doing a bad job at both. But like
Right.
what she's not doing, what she does bring to the table again, as a elected representative, as someone who claims to be a socialist and all these other things, she is pushing for labor issues. She is showing up to picket lines. She has been doing like all the things. Like again, I say this a lot. Before I moved to Virginia, my representative in Congress was Steve Scalise. If he would show up to a picket line, he would show up on the side with the cops and the guns and the dogs.
Absolutely.
And the water cannons and all the awful stuff. So I mean, like, again, like the bar is in hell. The bar is in hell. And like, I don't know, like the American left, if they want to be like, play any kind of part in building any kind of political power in this country, you can't be alienating every single person that's like that's actually trying to like move like has anybody who has like political future and political potential and the ability to actually like build power. And I do think that AOC has that ability because she has the ability to raise money, and she also has the ability to galvanize people. When I know that numbers in DSA specifically have been dropping since the DSA has dropped their endorsement nationally of her. It makes perfect sense as well, because if you're not going to be connecting to nationally popular political figures, then people are not going to want to be a part of your organization. I don't know. And if that's the way you want to take it, then so be it, I guess. But anyway, I'm like definitely running off the mountain. I'm grinding a couple axes, but I definitely think that like there is a bigger politics that leftist socialist organizations should be pushing for that aren't just like moralizing and doing Protestant witch hunts against like highly popular political figures. Don't you have better stuff to do?
No, for sure.
Mhm.
I think that's a good place to leave it with that little
Yeah,
nugget of praxis.
Mhm.
Learn something, laugh, learn something.
Yeah, live, laugh, learn, and like, look, if anybody wants to talk about it with me, like, I definitely have been spewing off at the mouth on this on Twitter. And like, again, I'm not like trying to justify anything that anybody is doing. What I'm trying to say is that we need to look at these things like strategically and like how do we build power from it, not and like burning down nationally popular political figures that have grown up in some kind of association with organizations like DSA. That's not necessarily a recipe for building power, in my opinion. Anyway, Robert, anything on the way out?
Nope, just be excellent to each other and party on, dude.
Man. Party on. And yeah, man. It is good to be back in the saddle. Like I said, we're gonna have Mel Buer on next week from the Working People podcast and the Real News. We're gonna have that interview going in. She was definitely doing some coverage of the protests at the DNC, which is super sick. Like, again, this is not me being against protests or against any of this stuff. Like, that's all necessary. It's all part of the game. And then in a couple of weeks, we have Colette Shade coming on the show. We're going to be talking about her book and a whole lot of more. I know that at the end of September, I just found out that the Grassroots Radio Conference is going to be in New Orleans. I might end up going to that. So definitely a lot to come. Flush with content. Robert, tell the people bye.
Goodbye.
And thank you so much for listening. Follow me on Twitter at EminentProf. Thank you. We love you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
McLaughlin Group.